Hey there, and welcome to the in-class video review of Chapter 2. Alright, let's get started. So we're going to go over some of these items together, and I'm going to push out 2 other review videos that go over additional items on the review to your parents through Remind that will be able to help you as you study and prepare for the test. So this is item number 3. If you take a look, you'll see it says, how do the values of the digit 2 in the number 222 and 222 thousandths change for each place value? I'm going to start in the whole number end and to think about this. So if I have a 2 here in the ones place, if it moved to the tens place, I'd be going from 2 to 20. Well, to get from 2 to 20, I'd have to multiply by 10, which means that it gets 10 times greater. Now, if I start with the 2 in the tens place, that 2 is worth 20. If that 2 were over here in the hundreds place, I'd have to take 20 times 10 to get to 200. Again, that's 10 times greater. If I went in the opposite direction, I had 200. To get from 200 to 20, I'd have to divide by 10, making it 10 times less. Okay. So what I noticed was every place to the left was 10 times greater than the place before. Or if I went the opposite direction, I guess 10 times less. Now, is that true over to the right of the decimal? Well, let's think about it. I'm going to start in the hundredths place, the penny spot. If I have 2 pennies, that's worth 2 cents, right? And if that 2 were to move to the tenths place, that would be 2 dimes. How would I get from 2 pennies to 2 dimes? Well, I'd have to multiply by 10. Well, look, it does appear to be the same. And again, if I had 2 thousandths, if that 2 were to move from the thousandths to the hundredths, that would mean I'd have to take 2 thousandths and multiply it by 10 to get to 2 hundredths. So how do the values of the digit 2 in this number change for each place value? Well, for every move to the left, the value increases 10 times. Or we could say for every move to the right, the value decreases 10 times. Well, that gets a little bit messy the way I did it, but hopefully that gives you some ideas. Moving right along, item 5 asks, how do you know whether to ungroup? That should say ungroup. That's kind of a weird thing. I just fixed it and it's messed up. How do you know whether to ungroup in the problem 3 and 42 hundredths take away 1 and 51 hundredths? Well, how would we know without actually going through the problem? Well, I can look at each one of my place values. Well, the ones place wouldn't involve ungrouping by itself. 3 minus 1, that's a done deal. But take a look at the tenths place. If I have 4 tenths, can I take away 5 tenths? I really can't. So what I know is by looking at the tenths place, I will have to ungroup from the ones and regroup in the tenths. Items 6 through 9 deal with different ways to write or express a number. Number 9 I thought might be tricky because we've just been introduced to expanded form powers of 10. So let's work through it together. I see that I have this number written in expanded form powers of 10. The thing to remember is that each parenthesis tells us how many groups of what place value. So in the first parentheses, 4 groups of 10 tells me that there's a 4 in the tens place. In the second parentheses, 5 groups of 1 tells me there's going to be a 5 in the ones place. There's nothing for the decimal, but I can see it's going to be a decimal number because I have 9 groups of 1/100th. That means there's a 9 in the, pay attention, hundredths place. And finally, 3 groups of 1,000th means there's a 3 in the thousandths place. You probably noticed there's nothing in the tenths place right now. We can't leave it blank. We need to put in a placeholder to show this number has 0 tenths. So now I know the standard form is 45 and 93 thousandths. If you haven't, turn your paper over. The next item we're going to work on together is item 13, where we're asked to compare two decimal values. We have 50 thousandths and 5 tenths. We want to be sure about this. We could use a place value chart, or we could just vertically align them by place value to make our comparison. That's what I'm going to do. The ones are under the ones, the tenths are under the tenths, and that's the number itself. If I wanted to, I could put in a couple of placeholder zeros here to help me visualize the numbers a little bit better. What I really need to do now is maybe a place-by-place check. Remember, when we compare, we always start with the largest value place, and that's the ones place. In this case, it's equal. When I move to the next place value tenths, I see the bottom number has 5 tenths. The top number has none. Well, that tells me that the bottom number is going to have the greater value because that's the highest value we have in the number. I could also read them now with my zeros, and this one reads 500 thousandths instead of 50 thousandths, telling me that 50 thousandths is less than 5 tenths. Let's move into our primary standard we're working on, and that is adding and subtracting with decimal numbers. Here I have item 19 set up. We can see it's an addition problem, and we want to double check that we write down the problems correctly and that we line everything up by place value exactly so that there's no confusion. First thing I'm going to do, drop it like it's hot. That decimal goes down. I don't have to worry about forgetting it and getting an item wrong, even though I really do understand. Now, 9 plus 9 is 18. Carry the 1. You all know I like to do new groups on the bottom. 9 and 1 is 10. Again, I'm going to have to carry the 1 over. I made one hole there. 6 and 4 is 10, plus 1 more is 11. Yay, I get to keep making new groups. 5 and 3 is 8, plus 1 is 9, and 5 plus nothing, still 5, to give me a sum of 591 and 800ths. Finally, let's look at item 24 together. Shasha is saving for a bicycle. Last month, Shasha saved $56.93. I'm going to make a note of that and make sure I understand what she did with that money. I'm picturing her putting this in a bank. Last week, she received $22.50 for walking the neighbor's dog. I'm going to use a short word. I'm going to say she made $22.50 for walking the dog. And again, I kind of can picture her going through the process of doing her job and getting paid. But then it says she spent, whoops, not mad made. Then it said she spent $15.76 on a CD. Come on, decimal, there we go. Now, finally, it says that the bike itself is going to cost $109.99. How much more money does she need to save? Well, it looks like I have some multi-step problem solving to do. First off, I need to figure out how much she has already. Now I see she has some money saved and she has some money made, and those two could be added to discover how much money she has, although I think we're going to find there's a little bit of a trick to it. 9 plus 5 is 14. Carry the 1. 6, 7, 8, 9. So it looks like she has $79.43, except, she bought a CD, which means she spent some money. We have to take that away because she doesn't have it anymore. To do this, it looks like we're going to have a little bit of ungrouping and regrouping that happens in our problem. I can't take 6 out of 3, so I'm going to ungroup and regroup. 13 take away 6 is 7. I can't take 7 out of 3, so I'm going to have to ungroup, woohoo, and regroup. 13 take away 7 is 6. Oh, that was kind of a funny math thing. I can take 5 out of 8, and I can take 1 out of 6. So right now she has $63.67. The bike's going to cost $109.99 though. We need to figure out how much she still needs to save. To do that, we're going to have to do some subtraction. Drop it like it's hot. 9 take away 7 is 2, and 9 take away 6 is 3. 9 take away 3 is 6. 10 take away 6 is 4. It looks like Shasha needs to earn or somehow get $46.32 more if she wants to buy that fancy bike. So from this point on, you may look at some of the other tutorial videos, or you may work on your own, and we will review this on Friday.